Alright, we're back. Recording this 4 days after the beginning of this video, so I immediately vlogged when I got here. That was Saturday, and today's Wednesday. So a lot of stuff went down, and I want to tell you guys about it. Just went to the gym. It's about 10:30 a.m. right now. Little side note, it is absolutely ridiculous how good this gym here in San Cristobal is. I would even go as far as saying it's probably better than my gym in Mexico City, which is so wild. I actually had a friend, like a Mexican friend, like warn me, like good luck finding a decent gym in those indigenous towns, you know. I mean, San Cristobal de Casas, it's hardly still an indigenous town, but he was just referring to the general area. And this gym is just amazing. I might post some clips of me working out there in some type of capacity. But yeah, just had an amazing leg workout for 2 hours straight. But that's not what this is about, because this is still gonna be in the video that already started, so let me get to the point. The indigenous girl, my adventure. So by now I have gone out with her twice. We've had 2 dates, and you guys know me, man. I can only keep it real. I do hope the audio is not terrible because there's a lot of wind, but I'm counting on the Sony ZV-1 wind cancellation. Let's see. So yeah, I went out with her twice, and there's just something that I wanted to talk about in terms of how Western people like me, how, especially in the last couple of years, we have developed this fetish with anything that is not Western and anything that is like outside of our normal scope of what we consider normal. Like, for example, you know, ayahuasca ceremonies and shamans and any type of like indigenous in general rituals or spirituality has been really commercialized and popularized in the last couple of years, and I feel like a lot of young Western people are like wanting or trying to move into that space of living the way the elders did, you know? Like we always love the kind of like shit on our Western society and claim it's all bad while simultaneously rewarding or like, you know, praising things from the past. For example, and I know I'm going on off a tangent here, but it's always interesting when talking about like, you know, like Mayas and Aztecs and these ancient civilizations, and we're like, oh my god, they were so smart and so evolved and so much further than us in some regards. And then someone like kindly notes like, yeah, well, they also used to like captivate people all the time and sacrifice them to the gods and have slaves. So it's always funny to like how we like to pick and choose things from the past, and we're like, oh my god, that was so much better, and we glorify it. And I say all that to say, trust me, I am going somewhere with this point. Like when I met this girl, and when she told me that, you know, she didn't have the last name. Oh right, no, I didn't even tell you this. So yeah, this is important. So we went on the first date after I recorded the first part of this video. You know, literally on my first day being here. And hold on, I just realized in this video I haven't even, oh my god, alright, well, sorry guys, I completely forgot. I never explained to you guys in this video that the girl that I met and that I went on that I went to have a drink with, she told me she's indigenous. Yeah. Little piece of important information that I should have said like 10 minutes ago. So that means I was, having drinks with her that first night, and I was asking her, like, what are you doing in San Cristobal de Casas? And she told me, well, I came here to learn Spanish. I'm like, what do you mean learn Spanish? You're Mexican. And then she was explaining to me that she was born and raised in an indigenous little village in the jungle, practically. And they still speak a language that is thousands of years old, that descends all the way from the Mayas. Like, you could argue, not even argue, like, they're pretty much a direct offspring of the Mayas, and they still speak, that language to a certain extent, which is not Spanish. So when she was 10, she moved to San Cristobal de Casas with her siblings to have a better life, basically, whilst her parents stayed behind in the jungle. So needless to say, I was incredibly intrigued, and I was like asking so many questions, and she was telling me she doesn't have the last name. They don't really do that there. She doesn't have any ID or passport. Like, there's no proof of her like being born in Mexico, like that's just how it goes. And initially I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I'm so like impressed, and I wanted to get to know so much. I mean, obviously I still do, but what I was going to talk about in this video, and what I had already began to do before I set the table for you guys, and before I explained what I was talking about, I was just kind of like romanticizing it in my head, like, oh my god, I want to get to know this indigenous girl and like woman. She's 25, and just like learn from her and all these things. And now I've seen her twice, and we've spent quite some time, and it's like, let me put it like this, it's not a Disney movie, it's not what we think it is, it's not Pocahontas, because really, from what I've gathered from talking to her, her life has been just really hard and basic, in the sense that, at least, like, I shouldn't say I thought of it like indigenous people being like very spiritual and like in touch with certain things, and having like a certain lifestyle that appeals to a certain mystique, an idea that we have. But then it's like, if when I started talking about spirituality and stuff, they've been converted to be Catholic Christians. So all of the interesting stuff in terms of like religion or ancient gods or like some Maya religion or whatever, and I know I'm probably sounding really ignorant, but all of that has been wiped out and replaced with basic Catholic Christianity, which is like, I mean, I'm a Catholic Christian, so I don't really need to hear anything about that. And then, like, as I was getting deeper and deeper and talking to her, I'm just finding out that their life is just really hard, and that's why she came here. Like, I was asking her, like, ¿te gusta bailar? Like, do you like to dance? And she was like, I don't dance. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, no, I never danced. Like, you don't dance? Like, What about like your community? Like, no, we don't dance. Dancing is not really a part of anything we do. So it's like, oh my God, like, you know, that kind of shattered my whole idea of how I assumed. You know, because you guys know, like, what do you think about when you think about indigenous village? You think about some shaman and some people with a big campfire, like a happy community, and they're performing rituals and dancing and praising the gods or God, or none of that. None of that. And like, does your mom dance? She's like, no, my mom never really leaves like the tent or the house. Like, she just cooks, takes care of the kids, and she's not really allowed to leave home. It's like, what? That's not a good, you know. And then I was asking her about her father. I'm like, do you think your father, do you think like he's loyal to your mom, like in the sense of like relationship wise, being exclusive? And she's like, no, for sure he has other women. As I embark onto one of the business streets in San Cristobal, so we are going to see a lot of tourists. So yes, like, that sounds like a terrible deal for her mom, right? That sounds like it's not a good life at all. It sounds like women don't really have that many rights at all yet. Who would have thought? Back in ancient times, women did not have any rights, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense if you think about it. But again, like, my point is, I feel like we just have a really bad, or again, I have a bad, or had a bad Disney type of idea of what that entails. And I was just asking her, like, what do you like to do for fun? You know, like, what do you... She's like, no, I like to be at home. I like to cook. And she works hard as hell, 6 days a week. And that's basically it. And just like objectively, that's like, that's a pretty hard life. No dancing, no, you know, like, not a lot of fun. I don't know. I don't want to judge, but I was taken aback by it. And then even aside from that, like, I'm trying to talk to her about certain things, and obviously, like, certain, like, for example, at some point I mentioned something about a Viking, and of course she doesn't know. Mind you, this is all in Spanish, but still, she's never heard of a Viking. Because I was trying to tell her something about the history of, like, my people, and I was, like, mentioning that a little bit, and then I mentioned Julius Caesar, and she's like, I've never heard of Julius Caesar. Again, on one hand it makes sense, but on the other hand it's like, okay, it's kind of hard to keep the conversation going when it's basically like you're from two different planets, because she has no notion at all of any type of general Western pop culture, or just anything, not even pop culture, like I said, like history-wise. It's just like, it's hard to find mutual, you know, topics to talk about, because her life is very, I guess, limited. And I don't know, it's, I guess my overall point that I'm trying to make, and my overall sentiment, is that life is hard, man, and the world is hard, and the world is a hard place, and we strive constantly to make it feel and seem better than it is. You know, like me, and we think about these native tribes, and we're like, oh my God, they're not suffering from the burden of social media and smartphones. Like, they get it, you know, they have a better life than us, like, back to the roots, back to the basics. It's like, no, they don't. They objectively have a very hard life with very little, I guess, room for overall just development and time to do fun things and create. I don't want to say create, but like, again, I've asked her so many times, like, what do you like to do? Like, what is your favorite pastime? And it's like, she's like, being at home, being at home, being at home. You know, so I'm sure some of it, like, I'm limited due to my Spanish, and she had to learn Spanish, or like we're both, I guess, not native Spanish speakers, so that doesn't make it easier. But still, overall, it was quite a bit of a, yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a, I don't even want to say a downer or a disappointment, because that implies like she did something wrong, which obviously she didn't. But it was just the ultimate, like, again, another realization and confirmation that life is just kind of hard, man, and it's just filled, the world is just filled with people kind of trying to make it and not suffer. And then you have people like us in our rich European countries trying to appropriate certain things and assuming that it's always better on the other side, the grass is always greener, not realizing, like, objectively, people in Europe really got the best deal you could possibly have. Like, we got healthcare, we got that education, we have all those opportunities, but we're so ungrateful, and we're always looking for something that we're missing, when objectively it really doesn't get any better than being born in Europe. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it now. Like, the more I explore the world and the more people I meet, the more I keep coming back to that conclusion. Especially out here in Central America, life is hard, man. Life is so hard for these people. And they're strong and they stay positive and they keep their head up, but it's a struggle day in, day out. Like, imagine not having papers. Like, how do you even tackle that? You know, like, I don't have a passport, I don't have a last name. Like, she was mentioning to me how she's thinking about going to Honduras, because apparently in Honduras you can somehow figure out a way to get like papers and get a passport, and then she would have like a Honduras passport, and that would allow her to chase her dream, which is to travel to Canada, you know. And she doesn't speak a word of English, so I installed the Duolingo app on her phone. I was like, use this, at least you can learn the basics of English. And she told me she's been doing it every day since I put it on her phone, so I don't know, I hope so. But it's really bittersweet, and she is a very sweet and incredible and an intelligent person, and beautiful as well. But of course, like, my mind is always racing, and I can't help but like have mixed emotions. On one hand, I'm just hanging out with this beautiful girl, but on the other hand, I'm noticing all these things, and I can't help but analyze, and I somehow even feel like, I don't know, not guilty, but there's just such a big discrepancy between the opportunities that we've received, you know? And yeah, so I'm working all week, but I am planning on taking her like on a trip this Saturday, because even like here in like, so San Cristobal de Casas is basically a hub for excursions. Like, it's just, there's all these tours that you can do, and it just starts from here. Like, you can hop in a little van in the morning, and then they take you to a certain tour. Like, there's these valleys, like there's these ancient archaeological sites, there's these amazing waterfalls. Like, there's just a ton of things, and she's never done any of them in 15 years, because guess what, they don't really have the money for that type of luxury. So I'm planning on taking her on one of those trips this Saturday to the cascadas, the waterfalls. Just show her a good time, show her some more about, show her some, yeah, a little bit of the world. And that's where I'm at, really. I don't really know. That's all I want to say about it. I'm not sure if I really even made a strong point, but I feel like this is important, and I feel like this has to be talked about to like tell you guys what it's really like, you know. Like, I feel like I didn't know. I didn't know. So I wanted you guys to know. Hey, if you're still listening at this point, and I realized I just did the same exact route I did when I started this video. Well, yeah. One more thing before I go on San Cristobal in general. It is like, it's always kind of like double whenever a town gets into tourism, and of course they have to, like, of course, like, get that money, man. I totally understand. But like, you can see a lot of it in the background. It's just like a lot of restaurants and a lot of shops selling kind of like, you know, I hate to say it, but kind of like nonsense, you know, like low valuable stuff, like cheap t-shirts with colorful prints and all this type of stuff, and all these souvenirs that Westerners can come and buy, which is, I guess it is what it is. Alright, man, I feel like I've rambled, and this video is going to be so long, probably like 30 minutes, so if you're still here, I appreciate you guys. I'm off to have some breakfast now, and I'll try to make, no promises, but I'll try to make another video while I'm here, just about some other stuff, some other thoughts. Alright guys, have a beautiful day, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. Peace out.